The night before my wedding, my fiancé told me something that sounded completely normal. My mom wants you to come to dinner tonight. At first, I thought it was just a simple family dinner before the big day. But that night, I accidentally discovered a secret that completely destroyed my relationship. Halfway through dinner, my future mother-in-law started speaking in Italian with my fiancé. They thought I didn't understand a single word. But they were wrong. Because I understood everything. And what I heard at that table was the exact reason our wedding never happened. The night before my wedding, my fiancé looked at me and said something that seemed completely normal. My mom wants you to come to dinner tonight. At first, I didn't think anything about it. Meeting future in-laws before the wedding felt natural. After all, the ceremony was the very next day. Everything was already planned. The venue was booked. The decorations were finished. My dress was hanging perfectly in the hotel closet. Friends and family had already started arriving from different cities. Everything was ready for what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. So when my fiancé asked me to have dinner with his parents, I didn't question it. If anything, I thought it was sweet. Maybe they just wanted one quiet family dinner before the chaos of the wedding day. But when we arrived at his parents' house, something immediately felt strange. His mother opened the door and greeted us politely, but her smile felt forced. Not rude. Just stiff. Like she was pretending to be happy. His father barely looked up from the living room when we walked in. He gave me a quick nod, said hello, and went back to staring at his phone. My fiancé seemed unusually quiet too. Normally he was talkative, joking about everything, making me laugh even in awkward situations. But tonight he barely spoke. At first I assumed everyone was just nervous about the wedding. Big family events can make people tense. Still, the atmosphere in that house felt heavier than normal nerves. Dinner was already prepared when we arrived. The table looked beautiful. His mother had clearly spent hours setting everything up. There were candles, elegant dishes, and perfectly folded napkins. It looked like something from a magazine. But the mood at the table didn't match the effort she had put into it. The conversation felt forced. Every time I tried to talk about the wedding, the topic quickly changed. When I mentioned the honeymoon plans, my fiancé suddenly became very interested in his food. When I talked about the guests arriving tomorrow, his mother just nodded quietly. Something was definitely wrong. Halfway through dinner, his mother suddenly turned toward him and began speaking in Italian. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Maybe they spoke Italian together sometimes. But then I noticed something. They both glanced at me briefly before continuing the conversation. That's when I realized something important. They assumed I didn't understand them. What they didn't know was that I had studied Italian during university. I had spent nearly a year in Rome as part of a study program. By the time I returned home, I spoke the language almost fluently. But strangely enough, I had never mentioned it to my fiancé. Not because I was hiding it. It simply never came up in conversation. And now that small detail was about to change everything. His mother leaned closer to him and spoke quietly. "Are you sure you want to marry her?" The words hit me like a shock. I kept my expression neutral. I continued eating. But my entire body had suddenly gone cold. My fiancé answered quickly. "Yes, everything is already arranged." His mother shook her head slowly. "You should have told her the truth." My heart began to race. "The truth? What truth?" My fiancé lowered his voice even more. "It doesn't matter anymore. After the wedding, she'll never find out." I felt my stomach drop. 1,000 thoughts rushed through my mind at once. Find out what? What were they hiding from me? His mother continued speaking. "She deserves to know you're still helping your ex." I nearly dropped my fork. Helping his ex? My fiancé glanced around nervously. "Lower your voice." But his mother ignored him. "You're paying her rent, you're sending her money every month. What happens when Freya finds out?" For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. Everything suddenly started making sense. All those late nights he claimed he was working. The strange financial stress he kept mentioning. The vague explanations about missing money. My fiancé spoke again. She won't find out. Freya trusts me. Those words hurt more than anything else. Not just because he was lying, but because he was confident I would never discover it. His mother sighed. This is a terrible way to start a marriage. He rubbed his forehead. It's temporary. Then he said something that shattered the last bit of trust I had left. She doesn't need to know everything. I slowly placed my fork down on the table. My heart was pounding. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. Hundreds of people were already traveling to celebrate our marriage. My parents had spent months helping plan everything. And here I was discovering that the man I was about to marry had been secretly supporting his ex-girlfriend behind my back. For how long? Months? Years? I suddenly realized something even worse. He had never planned to tell me. His mother leaned back and spoke again in Italian. You should cancel the wedding before you ruin this girl's life. My fiancé sighed. It's too late for that. Then his mother said the sentence that changed everything. If she knew the truth, she would never marry you. The room fell silent. I slowly wiped my hands with my napkin. They were still speaking in Italian. Still believing I had no idea what they were saying. Still convinced their secret was safe. I looked up at them calmly. And then I spoke. In perfect Italian. I think you're right. The effect was instant. My fiancé froze. His face turned completely pale. His mother stared at me with wide eyes. I continued speaking calmly. If I had known the truth earlier, I would never have agreed to marry him. The silence at the table felt suffocating. My fiancé finally managed to speak. You understand Italian? I smiled slightly. Yes. I paused for a moment. I understood everything. No one moved. No one spoke. His mother leaned back slowly in her chair, clearly stunned. My fiancé looked like the ground had just disappeared beneath his feet. I stood up from the table. My voice was calm, controlled, but completely certain. The wedding is canceled.